The year was a long time ago. An apple fell on Sir Isaac Newton's head, and then he invented gravity or something, right? Spoiler alert, he didn't invent gravity, but it might have helped him understand it. So let's refine this a bit. Some people are now claiming that the apple anecdote was actually made up, so to be on the safe side, let's say Newton observed an apple falling from the apple tree. So now he's curious, why stuff falls straight down? Is there some sort of invisible force that does this? So he threw a bunch of stuff down and observed their motions. Then he made some math equations to figure out the force of what he called gravity. And through a lot of analysis of experiments and calculations, gravity. And a lot more. But let's not talk about complicated theories in mathematics. Let's talk about something much more fundamental, the process in which Newton went through to understand the apparent fruit-to-face incident. Hello, Nudgers. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey into the heart of discovery, a journey guided by the beacon of knowledge known as the scientific method. The name's so generic, it almost sounds fake. So buckle up, let's get right into it. 1. Observation. So picture this. We're walking through a sunlit garden when we notice something quite unusual. The plants on one side of the garden seem to be taller than those on the other side. This intriguing observation sparks the first step of the scientific method, observation. In the scientific world, observation is basically just paying attention. Scientists will observe the world around them, identifying patterns, quirks, and anomalies that really pique their interest. Step 2. Question. Now, looking more closely at the plants, we begin to become more curious. This curiosity transforms into a question. Why are the plants on one side taller than the other? So turning that observation into a question sets the stage for our scientific journey. What? Why? How? And these questions will serve as our compass. Step 3. Hypothesis. Fueled by the burning question in our brain, now we transform from observer to a scientist. There has to be a reason for why those plants are taller than the other ones. And so now we can make an educated guess, or a hypothesis, based on our observations and background knowledge. Maybe it's because the taller plants receive more sunlight due to the position of the sun. Or could it be that the sun is playing favorites, showering some plants with rays and leaving others in the shade? Step 4. Experimentation. And now, it is time to roll up our sleeves and get dirty. So now we have a prediction that we would like to see if it is true. So to test the hypothesis, we devise an experiment. We can place identical plants in different sunlight conditions and very meticulously start measuring their growth over time. A lot of variables need to be controlled and studied, but we can talk about that another time. Step 5. Analysis. So now we have the results of our various numbers of plants that were exposed to different sunlight conditions and their measured growth over time. We can now start crunching those numbers, comparing and contrasting the growth patterns of the plants, and try to figure out what the data is telling us. Step 6. Conclusion. And this is where we start wrapping it up. We need to draw conclusions about our experiment. So after our analysis, we can finally draw a conclusion. The data suggests the sunlight indeed affects the height of our plants. The side with more sunlight witnesses taller blooms. The experiment did indeed support our hypothesis. And that's how, piece by piece, we weave the tapestry of knowledge from the threads of observation and experimentation. And so from our standpoint, that's pretty much done and dusted. However, there's one more step. Science's secret weapon, peer review. However, for actual scientists, there is a bit more of the process remaining. The results are shared with the scientific community through publications and conferences. This is where the power of peer review comes into play. Other scientists scrutinize the methodology, analyze the data, and test the experiment's reproducibility. For instance, if we actually shared the data with the scientific community, they might ask if we controlled the amount of water given to each plant. Or maybe it wasn't actually the sunlight that directly caused the plants to grow. Maybe it was just warmer because of the slightly higher temperature due to the sunlight. It can seem very nitpicky, But for scientists, these variables can mean everything. And so, our journey through the scientific method concludes. We've witnessed how keen observation, thoughtful questions, well-crafted hypotheses, meticulous experiments, and thorough analysis led to the discovery of knowledge. In the grand tapestry of science, each of us has the potential to be an explorer, unraveling the mysteries that surround us. So let your curiosity be the wind in your sails as you navigate the vast ocean of knowledge using the scientific method. This was Neuron Nudges. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you considered subscribing to our channel Neuron Nudges. Since this is my first upload, I don't have any followers yet, and your support means a lot to me. Feel free to give me a thumbs up if you like the content. I intentionally left out information about the channel at the beginning, but if you're interested in learning more, please continue watching. Wow, thanks for sticking around. Ever notice how you know you learned something in school, but you can't really remember it enough to talk confidently about it? So, well then, welcome to my channel, where I'm in the exact same situation. So, I'm on a mission to dust off the cobwebs of my education and rediscover the world of common knowledge. I am definitely not a brainiac, and sadly the only thing I vividly remember is that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. But I'm excited to dive into topics from science and history to philosophy and maybe even a sprinkle of economics in a less boring format than a textbook. Hopefully. Think of it as a podcast with some visual aids. We'll explore things you might find in the newspaper, hear on the radio, or chat about with friends. Don't worry, no need for textbooks or fancy degrees here, just simple content and my journey of trying to remember, or learning for the first time, the basics. So if you're curious about the world around you, or just want to see someone struggle to recall high school facts, please join me on this adventure. Let's retrain our brains together, one video at a time.